refresh the memory a little bit. What we've been talking about is the different paths of nevuah, or very specifically, the different ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu can communicate in this world, and that a person, a basar v'dam, can hear the word of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Sinai was the big one, but all the Nevi'im were also Hisgalus Hashem in the Olam. And what we were learning until now is that there was different madregas. There was the madrega of Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah, so he was the Adon Kol HaNevi'im. That was one madrega. There's a madrega of Shar HaNevi'im, which was different than Moshe Rabbeinu, paradigm shift from Moshe Rabbeinu. And then there was the madrega of Torah Sheba'al Peh, which certainly Chazal and Mishnah and Gemara were in, but perhaps we're even into that madrega until now. And the way we explained it, the kids were, Tzadok explained it, the kids was that Moshe Rabbeinu was called the Aspaklaria HaMe'ira, very clear lens. We wrote many rayas and many pages discussing that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to see beyond the glass wall that Nevi'im got stuck at. And even though he couldn't get to the ultimate madrega, Lo Yirani Ha'adam V'chai, which some say he did get to before he was nifter, at the end. He did see Chazai Salikim, but at least at Har Sinai, Lo Yirani Ha'adam V'chai, but he was able to get it up to the world of Bria, to the world of the Kisei HaKavod. So he saw a lot. The Nevi'im only came to a certain point, so that was an aspaklaria she'ena me'ira. So what it means in our terms, in human terms, is that Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah was what he heard from Hashem was not subject to any interpretation. The words that he said, the words that he heard, were the words that he said. That's why the Sefer Torah has so much confidence, mamash d'var Hashem. The Nevi'im, there's different madregas in the Nevi'im also, because the Nevi'im, some of them heard mamash, the word of Hashem, but it was an aspaklaria she'emir, it was a vision, it was a chaloim. What's a chaloim? A chaloim is, you wake up from a dream, you never have clarity. I saw something, I don't remember exactly, and it's part of it makes sense, part of it doesn't make sense. It requires interpretation. A chaloim requires interpretation. So by Moshe Rabbeinu, it says that Hashem said to Miriam, he said, Moshe Rabbeinu's nevuah is not like the Nevi'im, shebachaloim adaber b'chidois. It doesn't require any kind of making a laning on it. Moshe Rabbeinu Bamash hears what I say because he's that much closer. And then Mashen Kain and Nevi'im had to interpret. So what does it mean that they had to interpret? That they had to put themselves into the nevuah. Interpretation means that you're putting yourself into the nevuah. Moshe Rabbeinu, it works both ways. Just to understand, to get back into the sugya. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Anov Mikol Adam. He had no self. His self was meaningless. So therefore, not only it goes around in a circle. Not only was there no self to put into the Dvar Hashem, because there was no self, he could hear the complete Dvar Hashem. Whereas the Nevi'im had a self. Okay, use yourself to interpret the nevuah. So the madrega of the person was kaveya, the madrega of the nevuah. And then there's Torah Sheba'al Peh. So Torah Sheba'al Peh is completely it's mostly our interpretation, the human interpretation of the Dvar Hashem. That's what Torah Sheba'al Peh is. Kibar, Shas, Poiskim, Svaras, Chakiras, Chai Brisker. It's Torah Sheba'al Peh. Rava and Abaye, Hillel and Shammai arguing, because there was no arguing by Moshe Rabbeinu. There was nothing to argue about. This was the Dvar Hashem. It was as simple as that. There were certain things that he didn't know, like this week's parsha, the Mekoshe Sheitzim, he didn't know. The Makala, he didn't know. But because he didn't hear it. It was only what I heard. This is what Kach Shabati. Kach Shabati. If he didn't hear it, he went to the Olam Moed, and he had another nevuah for what he heard. So you have basically three madregas. You have the madrega of complete, pure a pristine Dvar Hashem. You have Shar HaNeviim, which was complete Dvar Hashem and Nevuah. They looked up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them to do, but then they had to interpret it. There's even a difference as the Dars went on. You see, like at the end of the Nevi'im, like Daniel. So it worked already in Aramaic because it was B'chal not, the Malbim says in the Hakdama to Daniel, it was B'chal not the words of Hashem. It was hidden, the words of Daniel. That's why it was in Aramaic, or Ezra Nehemiah, a lot of it is in Aramaic, because it was B'chal not the words of Hashem. It was the concepts of Hashem, which they explained to the people, as opposed to the poetry of Yeshayahu. Much of it was Ko Amar Hashem. It depends what they said. Ko Amar Hashem, Zedvar Hashem.
So what's the interpretation part there? What it means?
Yeah, like how, when, like, that's why it's not clear. Like the Nevi'im said when Mashiach is going to come, but we don't know when Mashiach is going to come. They said it, but we don't know.
Did they? Did they know?
Lavdafka. They were saying what they heard and what they understood, and sometimes in the Nevi'im you even see just call them the Nevi'im, that they stopped the Nevuah, that they explained, they talked to the people. There's a story. They talked to the people, and people argued with Nevi'im.
Why not? It's interpretation. They may have a different interpretation.
Yeah, that's what you heard, but that's not what it means. It's hard to argue with Moshe Rabbeinu. You go in Gerard, or something, and you fall in. There was no argument with Moshe Rabbeinu, with the Nevi'im. They argued with Chazal. You argue. That's what it's all about, is arguing. It's all about trying to grapple with the human capacity to the Dvar Hashem. So those were the three madregas that we learn about until we come to the madrega of Ter Shabbat Peh. You can argue, by the way, that if you take the two extremes, Ter Shabbat, in other words, Teresh Moshe Rabbeinu and Ter Shabbat Peh, you can argue in a way that Ter Shabbat Peh is a stronger madrega. Because, after all, Kadosh Baruch Hu created us humans to be able to understand it, meaning that it's gone through another level of understanding, where who says that the Asher Chonen L'Adam Das, who says that capacity that we have to understand is at a lesser madrega than it just being handed to us on a golden platter. It comes with more applications. It comes with a deeper understanding. There's milos to Ter Shabbat Peh. So that milo in Kabbalistic language is called malchus. Because whereas the opposite end of the spectrum, the top end of the spectrum is chesed. So chesed is I'm giving, you're taking. Like bashal, but let's say I want to give you parnasa. So one way to give you parnasa, here's money. I'm giving you parnasa. Another way of giving you parnasa is I give you a job. Higher madrega tzedakah. Now it's really, you have a different kind of a kinyan in it. You feel better about it. Could be it's a bigger level of tzedakah. How can it be a bigger level of tzedakah? I'm making you work for your money. I'm making you dance. I'm making you sing. How could that be a bigger madrega of tzedakah? It's a bigger madrega of tzedakah because it's yours. Taka gave you something. It's not that you're using mine. Emes gave you something. It's a higher madrega of tzedakah. It could be, so it's more malchustic in the sense that it's a bechina of nukfa. You were makabel it better. You're makabel it better. It's not a milsa de raviola. It's not something which is just floating over here. I'm benefiting from his buying. It's right. It's the same things with Torah. One can argue that as much as Ter Shabbat Peh, you never know. Like Hillel said this way, but Shammai said that way. Rava said this way, but Abaye said that way. The Rambam says this way, but the Rambam argues. Like you really never know. On the one hand, it doesn't have the re-root, if you will, of Ter Shabbat, but it does have the ba'alut of Ter Shabbat Peh, and that could be if the whole purpose of Torah is for us to absorb it. So there's more absorption on Ter Shabbat Peh than Ter Shabbat. You with me on that? More absorption. And more. Right? All right, Moshe? If the issue is what I get, so it's like
that's because of who we are. Because we're at a stage where we need to work it. But Moshe Rabbeinu was at a stage where the clarity was just completely absorbed.
Lo yodea, because you see the Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gemara tells us, was given a vision of the understanding of Rabbi Akiva. He didn't know what the heck Rabbi Akiva was talking about. So, how could it be? So the Torah says that, okay, I heard it, I don't necessarily know what it means. Here's the Yesod, here's the words. Rabbi Akiva was the father of Torah Sheba'al Peh. So as the father of Torah Sheba'al Peh, it was in a way more his. So Rabbi Tzadok, by the way, is consistent with this theme that even though there's a niskat nahadairos, the truth of the matter is there's a hiskad lahadairos, because as much as we're not Moshe Rabbeinu, clearly nobody would, and Moshe Rabbeinu can't argue with, but nevertheless there's more absorption on this level. There's more absorption on this level, and see the main level of absorption, just as an example, the main level of absorption, to use this, to continue with the word, is tshuva. So to do tshuva means I'm not there, I have returned to Hashem. I'm not there. It's not that I'm a tzaddik. I have returned to Hashem. It's tremendously about me and my avodah. So that's tshuva. Therefore, b'makom shpal tshuva imdin tzaddikim gemurmi eini mechalam Hashem. I have to speak about that more today. That about tshuva can stand higher. It stands higher, like Rabbi Akiva stood higher than Moshe Rabbeinu, in the sense that it's more of a kinyan. So on the one hand, it's not as pristine. On the other hand, it's more malchus. Malchus meaning that which is in the ground. You put a seed in the ground, so it gets all dirty and messy. And who knows if it's going to work? It's not going to work. But if it works, it's worth much more than the seed itself.
Is that related to how much we're mechadish b'Torah?
But every chiddush is in this bechina.
But the farther you go, there's a whole body of knowledge to absorb. It seems like there's less room to be mechadish because there's so much, all the chidushim of all the generations. It's like.
Yeah, but the thing is, that might be true. But the thing is, you have to be mechadish because otherwise we don't get it. We don't understand it. It's like we're racking our brains to understand something which was clear to previous generations, but there's something that comes out of that racking of the brains. I always make this point that I've only noticed in my older age, that when I look around, when I think back when I was like yeshiva bacher. Today's my birthday. I'm really old today.
English birthday?
No, Yom Ha'atzmaut. I was born on Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Oh.
A year.
I was born 2 days after.
Still not as old as me. They came to my father and they offered him, I think it was $100 if they named me Ben Sion. It's the Jewish Federation of Greater Buffalo. Born on, yeah. But you think back and it's like, wow, you think back like I was a brisk. It's like, this guy's going to be a big guddle, what a gone he is, and this guy's going to be like, huge Rosh Hashiva, who's like such an Eloi, and this guy's got such a personality, definitely going to be like a big leader in Klal Yisrael. So you think back of it like 40 years later, they're like a bunch of nobodies. But it's not that everybody became a nobody. Who became a somebody? The ones that weren't necessarily the big Gaonim and the big Eloi, the ones that have to work hard. Because the ones that have to work hard, there was a Sarusa de Losata there, which again, so you can't be stupid, but it's so interesting. Like when I bumped, last time I was in New York, there was a guy who I went to buy I'm not knocking. I was saying everything anybody does for a living is a mitzvah, but I went to buy a hamburger in the hamburger place in Flatbush. And the guy who was serving me the hamburger, so he was the best guy. So I'm thinking I don't want to insult him. What happened to you? What's the he's like number 4. I screaming to the back. Don't even work. They don't even speak a full sentences. Right? You have to make a parnasa. You have to make a parnasa. You have to make a parnasa. So there's a difference. Like he had the gift, but didn't necessarily have the isarusa de l'sata. There was an isarusa de l'elu. The real combination is when you get both together. That's when you get the real gadol ador. Somebody who really has the gift and then absorbs it. But so I'm saying that there's Mailus Lakan, and Mailus Lakan probably in every aspect of life, whether it's intelligence or science or wealth or whatever it is, it's probably Mailus Lakan. But that's the difference between the Nevuos of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Torah. Let's go to what we're. That's a refresher course. We started learning about the fact, this is an important Hasidic and Kabbalistic concept. We started learning about the fact that all of the world when Hashem created it, was divided up into 3 dimensions of Olam, Shana, and Nefesh. Everybody familiar? Olam, Shana, Nefesh. The words of Rabbi Tzadok here is Kol davar hu ba'olam shana v'nefesh. Everything is olam shana nefesh. So okay, everything's olam shana nefesh. What's olam shana nefesh? So these are the 3 mamadim, the 3 dimensions of creation. Olam means space, shana means time, and nefesh means person, which refers to, in my understanding, the human experience of place and time. If it's not experienced, if it's never been experienced, so then there might be space and time, in some remote place in the Arctic, but it's never been experienced by a human being, so it's lacking. It's not a full part of creation. It's only become a full part of creation when a human experiences it, or at least maybe an animal experiences it. But basically a nefesh, which is Adam with a neshama. So, okay, now creation has become complete. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world. Remember that the pshat in creation is an amazing thing. It's yesh me'ayin. Creation is totally amazing because it's something coming from nothing, or infinity, which is not something which anybody can grasp, to something very finite, like a cup of coffee. So all of the Bria comes to. So Olam Shana Nefesh is when HaKadosh Baruch Hu's yesh, creating a yesh from ayin, from nothing, creating something which we can understand, from something which is impossible for the human being to understand, to make it something which can be contained in space and contained in time, which is a harder concept, and be experienced by the nefesh. Olam Shana Nefesh. Kol davar hu ba'olam shana v'nefesh. It's a big statement. Kol davar. There is nothing that's not ba'olam shana nefesh. That's the 3 mamadim, the 3 dimensions of creation.
Are thoughts also a part of it?
Part of nefesh. It's nefesh. Nefesh Adam.
So they came from a place that's even higher than thought.
Yeah, in other words, thoughts is the physical manifestation, the physical dimension of nefesh. So what's happening is that there's an Ein Sof, there's an Ein Sofiyut, which is beyond our hasaga, and then in the process of tzimtzum, so there's Olam Shana Nefesh, and that's what we live in, Olam Shana Nefesh. Here's what's interesting, that as much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu created yesh me'ayin, that was Hashem's job, took ayin and made it into yesh. Our job is to make ayin me'yesh. Our job is, in other words, you could take that which exists in the dimensions of this world and bring it to a point of infinity. We could, you know what I'm talking about? let's say you talk, like people talk and talk and talk and talk. Bought this shirt, I bought it on sale, it's like a really good cotton, it came from here, blah, blah, blah. And listening to that person talk about a shirt for at least 30 minutes the other day. How much can you talk about a shirt? It's taking finiteness and making it more finite, more finite. Like every single shot that there could be, this has 7 buttons, it doesn't have 6 buttons, and it's blah, blah, blah. It's like an unbelievable shirt, you know. Or you can take the gashmius of this world and be mahapich to ruchnius.
Even the gashmius level, I like to think that since the yesh ayin, from the physical level, it's got to be ayin every single yesh.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Absolutely. So it means to say that Hashem, in His infinity, created your shirt. So we can take it further and further and further and further until we knock it, like to beat it to the ground. This shirt, like it can't get more gashmi than this shirt, like the ultimate gashmis. Or we could take the gashmis we have, and instead of doing yesh me'ayin like Hashem did, that's the isarusa de la'ela. We do the isarusa de l'satu. We're mahapich it back. We give it back. Giving it back means we take everything that in our gashmis world and we use it for ruchnis. Every word that a person says can have eternity to it. Can have infinity to it. Everything that a person owns can have infinity. Ezu ben olam haba represents infinity. Kol mahana talmid chacham in the chassav. Somebody shares their gashmias with the talmid chacham. They're taking, it's like bringing a carbon. They're taking gashmias. They're at the end of the food line, and they're turning it back into ruchnius. So that's called a bittul of olam shana nefesh. So this is what I'm telling you now is pretty important, because it's really like the whole avoda of a person. The people don't get it. They think the avoda of a person is to get more gashmis. So you get more, I can invest it and get more, then get more. So it's important, because the more gashmis you have, why is it important? The more gashmis you have, the more you can be mahapach into ruchnius. So if the kavana is so that I can help people, so that I can be healthy, so that I can give tzedakah, so that I can learn Torah, so that I can build Torah, I can build yeshiva. Okay, so that's a kavana. I'm taking. It doesn't have to be that. I'm giving the straw, examples. Stop like a process of taking all of the gashmis that Hashem gave me and turning it into ruchnius. It's a can do. It's our job, but that's avodah. That's avodas Hashem. Avodas Hashem is that's what a carbon is. That's what Yom Kippur is. That's the avodas Hashem. Doesn't mean that one has to become ascetic. Like I don't have any gashmis. I'm using all of the olam shana nefesh, and I'm being mevatlet. So Hashem's job, to put it succinctly, is yesh mi'ayin. Our job is ayin mi'yesh.
Is our job based on the fact that the yesh comes from ayin? In other words, are we looking for the infinity
perfect.
In the gashmis?
Perfect, mamish perfect. Why is it our job? Because the Hasidic language to be balad and tzotzos. However you want to say it, there's infinity in them hills. There's infinity. People always ask me, like, why do you, like, I'm in the publishing business. I go into a print shop, big printers. I love the smell. I must have something in there that gets me. Everything has to do with books. I always love it. But I'm no tzaddik, but I'm just like fascinated with the idea that this was a tree. This was a tree, a dead tree, and you can't make paper out of good live trees. They got to be dead. They got to be dried out. So I once heard a story that the rugged shover was very sharp, and critical. somebody came to him. Most people didn't dare, but somebody came to him with a sefer. They wanted a haskama on their sefer. So the Rabbi Haber read the sefer. Wow. So the guy was like I hit the bullseye. Like the Rabbi Haber likes it. He's reading. He was able to read a sefer in a couple of minutes. He went through the whole book, page by page. Wow. So the guy, what's the Rav so impressed with? He says, I heard that they can make paper and books out of rags, but that you can make rags out of paper and books. that's like such a kiddish. Yeah, like it's the question is like, what do you do with it? What are you doing with it? You know. So look, and by the way, I'm not. This is not a political thing, but you know, everything is about what you do with it. You know, when the Gutenberg press was invented, introduced to the world, so the Gedolim and the church Lahavdil banned it. Everybody banned it. It was a press, like, you know. The church banned it, ironically, because they're going to start printing Bibles and everybody's going to have access.
That's good.
The Ribono banned it because they said it's going to be used for pornography. Does this sound familiar? Everybody banned it. In the meantime, look, would we have a Yiddishkeit today? Would we have a Torah today without it? It's all about what you do with it. Of course, it's no such thing as something which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu was Begala, something in Olam Shana Nefesh, and now it's a question of what you do with it. It's exactly the same thing with the internet. It's exactly the same thing with everything that we have, whatever HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives us. So obviously, there's the avodas ha'adam that you made yesh ayin, and now we have to take that ayin and find the infinity in it, find the ruchnius, and use it for ruchnius. Can it be used for bad? Of course. Adrabah, I'll tell you a secret: the more something can be used for good, the more it can be used for bad. Like your big simon, as to whether it can be used for good or not, is how much it can be used for bad. Think about anything. Yayin. Think about yayin. I mean, why don't they ban women?
Church did.
Yeah. No. You know how many averas you can do with a woman? But the pshat, how much kedusha, and there's nothing more godly than taking a neshama from Shemayim, from the oil of Bria, and bringing it into this world. What could be more godly than that? So, but you don't ban it. You use the world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, the beautiful world that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created, l'toiv, l'tzidkus. So that's the yesh v'ayin. So here's like a historical example. The oil of Shana Nefesh. The Zohar says that Yitzias Mitzrayim, the Zohar, was oil of Shana Nefesh, because Mitzrayim was like the makom. The makom. It was the place which nobody could leave this makom. No Eved ever escaped from Mitzrayim. It means the security around Mitzrayim was so strong and shot on sight if you left Mitzrayim. So you can't live, you're stuck in Mitzrayim. And for hundreds of years, Mitzrayim, like, where are we going? There's no place to go. There's no horizon. What's out there? Deserts out there. What's in some countries? I don't know if they knew about the other countries, nomadic tribes. Like, Mitzrayim was the makom. So it was the ultimate olam. That was the olam. There was not the power of Mitzrayim was the strongest man in the world. The wealth of Mitzrayim was the biggest wealth in the world. The construction in Mitzrayim was the strongest construction. For Yisrael, Hayya b'Mitzrayim. So Klal Yisrael was in Mitzrayim. That's what happened. Yaakov Avinu moved to Mitzrayim, and Klal Yisrael grew up in Mitzrayim. That's where we became a nation, Mitzrayim, in the Makom. Isn't it interesting? We didn't become a nation in Eretz Yisrael. We became a nation in Mitzrayim. What was the Yitzias Mitzrayim? Yitzias Mitzrayim was the bittul of Olam. Kadosh Baruch Hu made the Makom, took Ruchnias and turned Gashmias into Makom, and then we defied the Makom. We left Mitzrayim. Well, so here's a case of, historically, there was a bittul of Olam. We were supposed to be in Mitzrayim for 400 years. Aha. That's if you're mukbal with Zman, Shana. But we got out of Mitzrayim 210 years. So with the Kriyas Yamsuf, which was the Gemara of Yitzias Mitzrayim, we defined time. And then we came to Rabbi Nachman. I brought it, if you want to see it, it's a Meirich in this Yana, about how you find by Kriyas Yamsuf, the pasuk says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu came to Kriyas Yamsuf be'anon ve'esh. Pasuk says clouds are for daytime, fires for nighttime. We find later on when things got sorted out. Amud ha'anon led us during the day, and Amud ha'esh led us at night. Not at Kriyas Yamsuf. We say it in the well, we don't say it. We don't say it in the piyuk before Musaf and the Brach Doidi of Shvi Shel Pesach. Anybody say that?
Used once.
Yeah, we all used to. That we're liberated. But in good old Nusach Svard, shuls where Balabat didn't know any chachmas. They said it, Brach Doidi. So over there it says V'kari of Yoim Asher Hu Lo Yoim Hu Lo Laila, that there will be a day. Shu Lo Yoim V'kari of Yoim Asher Hu Lo Yoim. There's a day which is there will a day come of Geula which is Lo Yoim V'Lo Laila. Well, so what is it? It's Lamalo Min Hazman. There's a big avodah, just like there's a big avodah to be Lamalo Min Hamakom. There's a big avodah to be Lamalo Min Hazman. And then we carried on to Har Sinai. And what do we say to Har Sinai? Nasa Nishma. It was a total bittul of our nefesh. The nefesh, the ratzon of a person is the das of a person, like you just said, the das of a person is to want to understand, to want to know. The infinity of the das is to say, I don't need to understand. I'm mahapich my das to bittul hadas. So nasa v'nishma is bittul hadas. Kriyas Yamsuf is bittul hazman. Yitzias Mitzrayim Gufos bittul ha'olam. Olam Shana Nefesh was mispatel. That's why when we got to Har Sinai, it says v'haya ha'har kuloi oshan olam shana nefesh oshan kuloi.
So that's the Kingship. There's no self. There's nothing.
Nothing. Selflessness. Total selflessness. We were all able to hear the word Dvar Hashem. We were in a situation of selflessness and infinity for a couple of minutes there, and ad kadei kach, like oneness was the nisim of infinity. Oshan. The one miracle of infinity is that we heard Hashem say, "Anochi Hashem Elokecha." That's pretty wild. They were like Moshe Rabbeinu. Bigger ness of infinity is Vayichan Yisrael Neged Ahar, that we're Ki Yishachad B'Leivecha. That was an even bigger miracle. There was an Achdus there. Why was there an Achdus there? Because there's no self dividing us. What divides us? It's our nefesh, our skin, our bone, our taivas. You're taking mine, I'm taking yours. All the divisions between people, even between, presumably, like, let's say you get married, if you're married, so presumably there shouldn't be any divisions between us because we both want the same thing with life. We're both going to live in the same house, drive the same car, have the same children, etc. Even there, you see mine, yours. It's like so this mine, yours is there's a need for selflessness, respect, which means selflessness. So that was the matzah of Har Sinai. Haya ha'or oshan kulay oshan kulay. Two lashonos in the pasuk. It was a bittul of olam shana and nefesh. When you come to nevuah, all this I'm saying just to explain get back to the Indian of nevuah. Nevuah also worked in this way of a bittul of olam shana and nefesh. Meaning, there was there was, like you have to be at the right time at the right place. Olam Shana Nefesh. we, the Nefesh, have to be at the right place at the right time. So at the beginning, like Moshe Rabbeinu had to be at the Sneh. By the time he finished his mission in life, b'chol makom, wherever he was able to have a nevuah, midbar. So he conquered, Moshe Rabbeinu with his nevuah, the handicap of space.
You wouldn't even be able to have a room in Mitzrayim. You wouldn't even be able to build a Mitzrayim.
Could have gone back. He did have a nevuah, but he could have gone back to Mitzrayim and had a nevuah. This is the site, by the way. I'm just being maramis to it, but Moshe Rabbeinu started off as a kavad peh, but at the end he's given big speeches. So he said, "Bracha sheberach Moshe." What happened to that stutter? It was coverage. It's just a very practical, down-to-earth example of becoming lamala min ha'olam, the handicaps of. So you could fly if you're fly. If you take the yesh which came from ayin, and you find the infinity in the yesh, and you turn it back to ayin. So Moshe Rabbeinu was kovesh that. There were the union of Zman, which Chazal say was the union of la'es, the ace of nevuah. Only Moshe Rabbeinu, b'chol beis neman, who could have a nevuah whenever he wanted. The other Nevi'im had to be kovesh, the union of ace. So let's leave this for next time. But the end of it all was Nefesh. So the Nevuah, this is the point that I want to bring out, this would say verbally. Who was the last Navi? So probably the last Navi was, so Chagi Zcharia Malachi, that was the end of the Tkufa of Nevuah, which was after Ezra, let's say. Ezra Nehemiah. Malachi to Ezra. It was the end of the Tkufa. But Esther, the Gemara says, Soif Kol Hanavim, meaning that the end of the period of prophecy ended with Ezra. But with Esther, it doesn't really make a difference if it was Esther or Ezra, because they're both the same thing. They were both Nefesh, meaning Nevuah was supposed to happen only in Eretz Yisrael. So there was an element of Olam, and there were specific times for Nevuah. There was an Indian of Shana. Esther defied everything because she had a Nevuah in Persia exactly at the time that she needed the Nevuah, Bebeis Achashverosh, and it was all about her Nefesh. Nafshi b'sheilasi. Nafshi b'sheilasi. So she was the end of Olam Shana Nefesh in terms of Nevuah. And then we have to start, that was in the Nevuah that was coming from top to bottom. Then we have to start again. That started the Teresh Baal Peh, which again it needs a kibush of Olam Shana Nefesh. So Ezra, for instance, was a Navi, but he was also the father of Teresh Baal Peh, the father of the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah. So there was the same. Everything. When we went back to Eretz Yisrael, we're back into the olam that we need to be kodesh, and it was all about the Eis Hagula. So what I'm saying is that there's a repetition in history of the bittul of Olam Shana Nefesh that ended with Esther and started with Ezra, and then it started the Bayis Sheni. But the difference between the Bayis Sheni and the Bayis Rishon was so profound, because where the Bayis Rishon was all about Nisim and Isarusa de Leila coming down, the Bayis Sheni was all about us doing what we have to do and bringing it up. So now we're still in that tkufa. Ad, like we spoke on Shabbos, the time of Rabbi Akiva, where it was all about us being mahapich, the Olam Shana and Nefesh to a place of to a higher place. So let's just look inside for a minute. Chol davar hu, actually I'm looking inside it. Chol davar hu ba'olam shana v'nefesh. Everything is ba'olam shana v'nefesh. K'mosh yisa b'sefer Yitzira, as it says in Sefer Yitzira. U'b'nefashos, when it came to the Nefesh part of Nefashos, Esther soif madregas hanavua. Esther was at the end, so it was all about Nefesh. Nafshi b'shelasi. Kichol hanaviyim shahayu oz mikfar. All the Nevi'im that preceded Esther, Sharsa aleim hanavua. You see, Esther and Mordechai asked the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, it says in the Megillah, Kisvuni l'doros, that they want to be canonized, they want to be part of the Torah Shebiksav. If they wouldn't have been part of the Torah Shebiksav, so they would have been part of the Torah Shebal Peh. Oh no, right? It still would have been a Masechta Megillah. It would have been Torah Shebal Peh, it would have been Torah Shebiksav. It's like like Rashi says, the first Rashi in Chumash says the Torah could have started with HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. So what is that? Like that's in Parshas Bo. So what would have happened to the whole story of Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov? Like we're just going to forget about all that? Like the Torah could have started HaChodesh Hazeh Lachem. I mean, what kind of Rashi is that? The answer is it would have been Torah Shebal Peh. That's all. Well, no, right? It would have been a Masechta Avraham Avinu, Masechta Yitzchak, Masechta Yaakov. It would make you see when you make you see about Avraham Avinu. So it would have been things that are true, but it wouldn't have been part of Torah Shebiksav. So what's the difference? The difference is that part of Torah Shebiksav means that, one of the things that it means is that this came from top to bottom. It was Yisarusa de Leila. Torah Shebal Peh is Yisarusa de L'Sato. So Esther here was on the cusp. She was right on the Esther, Mordechai and Esther were right there between the Bayis Rishon and the Bayis Sheni. Mordechai was already on the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah committee, so Torah Shebal Peh was already being formed. So it would have been natural for the Megillah to, like which side of the line are we on? Are we on the Torah Shebiksav line, or are we on the Torah Shebal Peh line? Are we by the Soif Kol HaNisim, or are we by the beginning of the New World? Or by the Soif Kol HaNevuos, or by the beginning of the New World. So Mordechai and Esther, which needs some meditation, begged the Anshe Knesset Hagdolah, canonize us. We want this story to be part of Torah Shebiksav, not part of Torah Shebal Peh.
It's more infinity than Shebal. What's written is more infinity.
So it's more Torah Shebiksav. Why is it more infinity?
No. Because it lasts, it's written. It's like speech.
I mean, it's become more infinite.
Yeah.
It's more about, let's put it this way, if this is right. It's the vikuach with Esther with the book of Esther, is this story that just happened to us in Persia, is it more about what Hashem does for us, or is it more about what we do for Hashem? Is it more about Yisarusa de Leila, or is it more about Yisarusa de L'Sato? The Minahapachu of Purim. And why did they said this is a new way, get this is a new way of Hashem doing miracles for the Jewish people. Like Benister, and it happens in Golus. And this should also be, like you say, eternalized, but it's more than eternalized. That as Rabbi Tzadok goes on later to say, that Achashverosh should listen to Esther when he just killed his wife Vashti. It was such a Shechina. Was an absolute miracle. That Haman, who was the biggest macher in the world, should end up hanging from a tree. Was a big miracle. That Mordechai, who was despised by the government, became the prime minister, is a big miracle. And the biggest miracle of Purim is the one that it actually doesn't say in there, and that is that Esther had a son, Daryavesh, and she told Daryavesh, when she was an old lady, build a Beis Hamikdash for those Jews. And he had to listen to her because it was his mother. That's the real story of Purim. The real story of Purim is that was the continuation of Klal Yisrael. So, but it's not in there because that's already Torah Shebal Peh. That's already us building the base of English Daryavish, Koresh, Daryavish too. Like that was already a different Maisa. But what Esther wanted, I believe, what Esther and Mordechai were saying to the Anshe Knesset Hagdola is that this is still about what Hashem does for us. It's still about HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Yesh Mi'ai. It's not about Aris Sarusa. We didn't do very much there in Shushan. We did something, but we didn't do that much. Mostly we were just assimilated people. So this is still in the Bechina of Torah Shebiksav, still coming from top to bottom. Chazal, Anshe Knesset Hagdola, the great committee, wherever they were, there was Nevi'im there was Chachamim there. No, this is more like what Jews are able to do for themselves. They said, no, this was miraculous. This doesn't make sense. There's no way we would have been able to do this. This wasn't about, like we sat down and we had a strategic meeting. No, it made no sense. Biksim Masarish made no sense. I'm telling you, we're here. It made no sense. So it was about Torah Shebiksav. It wasn't Biksav. It was about that was the whole Shaila. So she was, say Chazal, Olam Shana Nefesh. She was at the end of the line of Nevuah, at the end of the Nefesh. There was no Makom, it was Persia. And it wasn't the right time, it was Golos. But it was Nefesh, it was the Nafshi B'Shelasi. All there is me. That's what Esther said. All there is. Eina Davar Toli Elabi. That's what Mordechai said to her, right? If you don't do it, you're missing the whole boat. Like if you don't do it, somebody else will do it, but Atu Beisavicha Yevetu. That means you don't use your Nefesh. You didn't use your Nefesh correctly. So that's the Olam Shana Nefesh that we're coming to. Okay.
That's why we need a Rebbe. That's why we need a Rebbe. Be like Mordechai, tell us.
Yeah.